if you have a dream, you have it for a reason. And other people, they don't see it. It's not their dream for a reason.
You've never seen a show like this.
Kitty, you're supposed to speak into the microphone, not under it.
You're not my dad.
There you go.
Oh, I like
I'm
that.
talking to you. All this other stuff is just here.
Like, it's like the wizard. The Wizard of Oz is like, ignore everything you see.
Everything. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Maddie. So I wanted to ask you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about like the Mare. So I've seen you've been doing some independent films. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's really fun. The Mare is like an independent horror short. So we're in a very niche category, which I didn't know I was into until I started doing, and now I'm obsessed with it. So.
Yeah. Did you start acting and then kind of move into the directing writing role, or like what inspired the Mare?
Yeah, I started acting when I was in like, I think it was like 7th or 8th grade, and I got into that by accident because all my friends were joining the musical, and I was like, I don't want to get left out, so I'm gonna do this.
Right.
But I was very shy and like introverted, so I didn't think I was gonna like it. And then we started actually performing, and I was like, oh, this is so fun. But I don't necessarily think like theater is going to be the route I would prefer to go in. And so then I started just trying out like TV and movie acting, and I loved that. So then I got an agent and I started doing auditions, and I've been doing that ever since. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And now all acting here in Atlanta, like what do you think about the Atlanta scene that makes it a good scene for people to like create something new, you know? Like
Yes.
It's so inspiring. You got, you know, your own kind of film going on, and are you acting in it, directing?
Yeah.
Like, what are all the roles that you play? And like yeah, tell me more about the Mare.
Well, it's interesting because Atlanta was kind of what everybody called the second Hollywood, or the Hollywood of the South. So when I moved here, that was the whole intention of coming here. And then we went through all the film strikes and COVID and everything. So everything shut down pretty much as soon as I graduated, which was like, oh, this sucks. And a big part of auditions is you never know when someone's going to want you to be in their thing or not. So it's up to chance. And so after a while of it being so slow, I was like, you know, I want to find some people who would be serious about making something, because if like you're not getting cast in anything, or if like the season's slow and you're losing confidence in yourself, like why don't you just make it happen for yourself? Because like that's like been my whole like life motto is like, well, you are only going to get what you put into things, you know? So that's kind of how the Mare started. Like I started going to this film club in my free time, and I met this guy named Jamie who turned out to be like the co-director with me, co-writer. And we're like, hey, do you want to make something outside of this club and have it be something that's super meaningful to both of us? And we both liked horror. And so then we just started talking about ideas. And he wants to be a DP right now. He's a digital imaging technician in the film industry. And so he's like, yeah, I want to be a cinematographer. I'm like, cool, I want to be an actress. So we're going to have to do all like the heavy loading in the back end. Like we got to do the writing, we got to do the producing, directing, which turns out I love doing all that stuff anyways. But I didn't know I liked it before. I just always thought I was going to have to get cast in something, and then I could jump into it from there. But actually making my own stuff has led me to so many other opportunities and more opportunities. So that's how it kind of came about, if that makes sense.
Where is the farthest your film has taken you? So I know, you know, and what's the process if you make an independent film?
Yeah.
How do you get it out there? How do you get into these film festivals? Like, and tell me a little bit about those experiences.
So film festivals are interesting because I didn't even know this before we started even submitting for them. But a big purpose of going to the film festivals, besides like the networking, is also pitching your film if you want it to be a full feature independent, or a full independent feature. So essentially your short is a pitch in itself to any investors who are there. Because I really thought it was just like to win awards or to network. And so the last film festival we went to was in Phoenix, in Arizona. And that was such an eye-opening experience because we met so many people who they do this for a living, but it's not in what you would like the union film industry. You know, they're just making shorts. They're pitching it at these film festivals to investors. Investors are coming in and they're funding the entire vision, and then they're selling it to distribution systems, and then they're just rinsing and repeating that over and over again. And I'm like, oh, so that's the reason we all do this.
That's the process. Like,
Yes, it's so much more technical than I thought.
Applying to jobs, but I have to make the whole film myself.
Yes, and you have to put all of your own money into it unless you're good at. I don't know how to, like we were talking earlier. I don't know sales. I don't know like funding strategies. I just know social media and I don't know how to do content and stuff. So we like self-funded everything. We did all the cast and crew and producing and editing. Like we did all of that, and then we're in a room surrounded by people and they're like, yeah, like how much was your short? Which is like, and most people's anywhere from like 5 to 15 minutes, or just 30 minutes. So
Wow.
but that it hurt us in the long run because to do good in the film festivals, they like it to be a certain length. So we did, but we didn't know that. We'd never been submitting to festivals before.
So what's the ideal length then for the shorts?
5 to 15 minutes. Yeah, typically on the shorter side, but yeah, and they're just talking about like budgets even behind these shorts, and some people are like doing like $20,000 to $50,000 for these 5 to 15 minutes, and me and Jamie were sitting there, we're like, we put $7,000.
And we're twice as long as
So it's just like a very big like learning curve and experience, but it's so cool because now we know like the whole purpose of going and how to pitch yourself and how to pitch your stories and how to come out of the film festivals like successful, besides just winning an award, you know, because you can win an award and then it just doesn't really mean anything. But if you can create a whole feature out of the little concept that was shown, that is a legacy that you have for whenever.
And like what do you think is the most difficult part about putting together a short film?
A lot. Well, I think it depends on your personality too. Like, cause I like all the actual creation process. Like once we got to the filming side, I loved every part of it. And I also really liked writing, but the producing side, like finding actors, which I like that part, but I don't like the scheduling. We had a 17 people crew, and like finding a location that also like, because again it's like a very low budget, so we were like offering like $200 to shoot at someone's house. Like you're gonna be there like 12 hours a day for 3 days straight with 17 strangers they don't know, you know what I mean? Like somebody's going to be taking apart all the decorations in their house and redoing it and then putting it back. So we have to have someone who's willing to let us use their place, and then finding 17 people who can their schedules all coordinate. Same with the actors, and it's a lot to do in the back end. And then when people bail and like, you know, life happens, trying to all those technicalities, that was the worst part for me.
Yeah, that sounds like, no pun intended, it could be a nightmare.
Yeah, it was. It was. Oh, but honestly like then you figure out other like aspects of yourself. You're like, oh, I'm actually very good at this, even if I don't enjoy it. So I'm glad I found that out, because I couldn't imagine like not, because your brain has to work a very specific way to like be able to manage that many things at once, and then be able to switch on a dime and stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay, I could do this. I just didn't want to do it, you know?
So what do you think is next in the process for you as an actress, director, writer? Is this a series? Are you taking more film festivals? You're going to make a 5 to 15 minute film? Like, yeah, what's coming up next in the pipeline for you?
Well, we've been doing the Nightmarish series on Instagram. So basically we're trying to figure out a way to be able to do this like content creation forever. And again, like I'm always a big advocate of like making it happen for yourself. So Nightmarish is like a short story anthology series on Instagram and TikTok and now YouTube. Or have you ever watched like the Real Shorts? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're trying to do like that, but horror version on our end. So like every month it'll be a different series, like a sleep series or hiking series, and it'll be like different storylines within that. That's like released every single month, and that's been really fun and a very like good way to get the creativity out. And then for the Mare, next festival we go to, we're just gonna know how to pitch it because we didn't even know we were supposed to be pitching it.
Right. You're like, we did our film. Here, give us the award. It's us.
We're like, oh, okay, so because every film that every festival that we've been to, we will get that comment afterwards. People are like, hey, like we want to see more. Like, what's next for this? They want to see the full story of it, and so knowing that that's a possibility and knowing how to actually present it as a pitch rather than just this is a full concept story in 30 minutes. Like, no, this can be a 1.5, 2 hour long thing. And it is. We just didn't know that that's how we were supposed to come across talking when we were getting interviewed after this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Do you have any funny stories like from like filming? You know, you're on set in public, right? Or like maybe you like any public interactions with kind of like crew and stuff that might be like a funny story you have from this.
Well, I have well, okay, I have several, but they're like, well, the one that I think is funny, it's not like with the public, but we were filming one of the series, and you know those like breakaway glasses that you can get? We were using one of those for the first time. And so I was talking to the actor. I wanted to make sure they were like very comfortable with it because I was smashing the breakaway glass over top of their head. And I was like, I don't know how hard you're supposed to do this. Like, I don't know. It's like, what's going to break it? And we only have one take of it. No, we had 2 takes technically because we got 2 breakaway glasses. And so he's like, yeah, no, it's fine. Just like smack me. And I'm not comfortable with that. So then we kept going to do it. And as soon as we get there, yeah. And so it wouldn't even crack. And then when it finally did, he wasn't ready for it because he was so used to me like back taking on it. And so both takes, because we took one from his POV and then my POV, they look so uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh.
But it was a lot harder to break those than I thought, you know?
What shape was it in?
It was a cup. Okay. Like, it looked like just a normal water cup because essentially, like, he was choking me out, so I had to take the glass and, like, try to,
Right.
Psh.
Try to fight back.
Yes, exactly. And it's just, those breakaway glasses are actually, they're not hard to break, but, like, when you're hitting somebody else with it, you're like, I feel like I shouldn't be doing this.
It's like learning how to play a new sport or something.
Yes.
It's like swinging a baseball bat for the first time.
Exactly. Especially when you're like trying to do it on somebody's head.
Right. Man, that's so fun.
Yeah.
What do you think was your favorite moment in your early career where you're like, okay, this is for me, I want to pursue this? Like, did you have a specific moment where you realized, like, you know what, I'm passionate about acting and directing, and this is where I want to take my future?
It's not like a specific like moment in time, but I just remember the feeling I got. Like, I tried so many things growing up to just even like be good or fit in my, like, I grew up in a very small town, and there you had to be good at sports, and I tried like, you name a sport, I'd done it. I was like in deep with all of it, and I was just like, I don't like any of this, and I don't know what's wrong with me because I don't enjoy it. All the things that I liked was like sitting at home, like journaling and doing my crafts or whatever, and so I just felt always like very odd. But I still hadn't found the thing where it's like people are like, oh, when I grow up, I want to do this, or I was like, I just feel like that doesn't exist. And then when I like acted for the first time, which is what made me want to pursue it, is like, that's the first time where I felt like I could be completely myself, even though you're not playing yourself, And I felt very free to like express myself and just very open and safe. And after that, like, my mind has never thought that there was anything else out there for me besides that. Not saying like that's what I have to do professionally forever, but like I don't think there's ever going to be a moment in time where I will not pursue that, you know.
I think that's amazing, especially like I think acting, theater, kind of like it takes a lot of time and passion and like interest to do it. And so like the people that will go out and make their own things, they typically have that like deep connection.
Yeah.
Like I spoke to some theater people and they're like, literally, I can't do anything else.
Yeah. It's like this like, and it's funny too because like, I don't know how to describe it to people who like don't get it, but I do so much stuff for free still. And I'll be on set for like 14 hours for 3 days straight. And I'm like, I'm not getting paid to do any of this. Like sometimes I get paid, you know, but like I will do it just for the sake of the fact that that's like all I want to spend my time doing. So why wouldn't I pursue that to be a career, you know? Or when people are like, oh, that sounds like, why would you sign up for that if you're not getting paid? And I'm like, why wouldn't I? You know?
Right. It's like, I love it.
I love it. It
Why would
fills
I do
me
something
up.
I don't love?
Exactly. Like I could sit at home on the couch and like be lazy, or I could like be doing anything. But I'm like, this is how I would spend all of my time, even if I wasn't getting paid, which is what I do. So why wouldn't I pursue it as a career too? Especially when like you've had careers where you're just like, this is like soul sucking, you know? So why am I, you spend all of your time at like most of your life you're working. So why do something that you don't actually just like, you know what I mean? Or at least pursue it. Because some things aren't possible. Like I can't just sit here and be like, I am going to be an actress professionally forever. Because like most of that is not up to me. Like I have to get cast in things, you know what I mean? Which is why I'm trying to do my own thing.
That's amazing though. You take matters into your own hands.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think if somebody was like also interested in doing that? Maybe there's someone like you. If you could go back to the time before you started your own thing, like what advice would you give to yourself in that point in time with all the information you know now?
I would say to really reflect on what you want. And like we're talking about, make it happen for yourself, but also be like self-critical of things that you can always improve on, and like not in a judgmental way of yourself, but just like in an unbiased, like these are the limitations that are probably holding me back. These are the things that the people who I have or who I want to be like have. And those are like the skills and attributes I need to like do for myself, you know? I wish I had started making my own content sooner. I wish I had started telling people I wanted to be an actor, because I was also like embarrassed to like say that, you know, because people are just like, oh, that's stupid, like, you know. But the more you put it out there, the more people are like, oh, cool. Well, I have this like project. If you know what I mean, it opens up so much like community aspects to it too, and being able to collaborate with people who you love their work and they like your work and they see the same vision as you. But really, it really is just like make it happen for yourself, and then other people will see that and they'll want to join in and be a part of it. Right. And it'll turn into this way bigger thing.
Yeah, and just like advocating for yourself.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like you're good at that.
Because nobody cares about your life as much as you do. You know, nobody's going to sit there and be like, you know what? I see this in you. I'm going to bring you out all the way, unless they have a vested interest in it, you know? And so then they're probably going to end up screwing you over anyway, unless they're just a really fucking good person. Right. It's kind of rare in this world. So if you're not like putting yourself out there and like telling everybody what you can do, like they're going to move on and they're going to look at somebody else, or they're going to invest in somebody else, or they're, you know. So, yeah.
That's some incredible like advice and just through experience. What do you think you've learned about like what it means to be a human through this process?
Oh my gosh. Well, acting is like such a human experience in general. Like I was saying before, like the thing that made me fall in love with it is like you feel, well, me personally, I feel the most myself when I'm playing someone else, in the sense of like I get really bad with how I process and feel things. Like I never know how to like explain what I'm thinking and feeling, but when I can see it in other people, I know exactly what's going on. And so when I'm like acting, I can like analyze the character and I can be like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what's coming up in their head, and these are like the shifts in the tone because like this is what they're thinking about, and this is like what the other you're making it all up, but you put yourself into somebody else's shoes, and because you're them, you can't judge them for it, you know. So like if you're playing someone who's an alcoholic, and in your real life you're like, I would never do that. If you are that person in that moment, you have to like understand why that person will be an alcoholic and why they're making those choices, and it makes sense to them, and that's who they are as a person. You become more empathetic, and you can just see so many different points of view that maybe you wouldn't see before. So it's, I don't know, I think acting is such like a cool expression of trying out different hats that you would never personally like align with, but it makes you a way more well-rounded person.
Right, like understanding,
Yeah.
having almost empathy and like
Yes.
psychology. Kind
Yes.
Of like, I don't know. I think what kind of studies did you do like prior to this that maybe have helped you as an actor?
So many. I was a entertainment media studies major, which is like filmmaking, and then a theater minor. But I took enough psychology classes to basically minor in theater or psychology, because I just find it so interesting, especially like abnormal psychology, because nobody thinks like nobody does, well, unless they have like personality disorders, but like nobody goes into things thinking that they're like purposely trying to harm people, you know, or purposely trying to like do bad things, or like nobody's also just trying to always be a savior or hero, you know. Like people always have like very specific like emotions and like backstories and things that happened to them and things that impacted them, and the more that you can like objectively understand where people are coming from, it makes you a better actor, and also just makes you a better person, you know. Well, just like having, like you said, the empathy to like, you don't have to like the choices, but you also don't have to like judge the person, and that's like really helped me in the acting space, because you can really dive into the depth of who that character is, besides just like words on a page of like, oh, they're angry, you know.
Right. But
Why?
Why?
Yes.
Dive into that. Like,
And if it doesn't tell you, make it up. You know?
now you know, like, oh, these XYZ would create that. And
Yes.
You can develop a better character.
Yes.
You can put characters into that space where
Yes.
you can almost you can evaluate them psychologically
Yes.
to create a more definite character.
Because, okay, a good example of this from the Mare. Our male lead. Never acted with him, never worked with him, but he came highly recommended, and we saw his like audition and stuff, and we're like, okay, you're perfect. So I get a phone call from him one day, and we wrote his character so flatly, because like we were also having like trouble with guys wanting to like be in like auditioning for it, because I think they wanted more screen time than they were going to get. Like the male actor was only supposed to have like very minute, like maybe 2 minutes of screen time. So we added more depth to his character by having him come back, but he was originally just supposed to be an asshole. I just wrote him as like a frat boy asshole. And Josh calls me, which is the actor, and he goes into all the backstory of his character, that he's like determined, and like, you know, his attachment wounds growing up and why he would be this certain way. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is the perfect decision. Like, you made such a flat character, so well-rounded, and then he brought that energy to set. And it was so cool, because I'm like, oh, and now it's making me have ideas for like our dynamic and our relationship that I didn't write in the script, but now I want to explore it. And then when we're editing, there's like so many different takes that we can choose from, because of the different dynamics we played around with. So yeah, it all ties together really well, I think.
That's awesome. What do you think in your life, like how is technology impacting both the space you're in, like AI and the new, like, you know, kind of dynamic? How are those impacting the way, you know, humans create things in your space? It's
interesting, because it's like, I think there's like some pros and there's some cons. Like you can argue each way, because like, for example, like editing wise, like it's definitely given for like rotoscoping. It used to take you so long to do that, and now there's automatic features on there because of AI, right? So in ways it can be helpful, but then a lot of people are losing their jobs because of it. And like, I don't know, they're using like fake background extras. They're, taking faces and stuff like that. So I think there's pro and con to everything. And I think there's just like a specific space for it if it's like the whole entire artwork. I think yeah, it really depends, but I don't know. Yeah, it's becoming a huge part.
It's like evolving.
Yes, it's evolving, it's changing. I don't think that we're gonna even like know the full scope of it for a long time,
Well, one quick message that you might have for any artists, creators out there that have aspirations, what could you say to anybody that would be interested in, pursuing something like you?
This. You're the master of your fate. You're the captain of your soul. I have that there to remind myself, because I feel like with dreamers, like artists, all that kind of stuff, you are always like given a reality check at least like once a month by somebody, whether it's like even a teacher or parents or friends, or somebody's always telling you like, that seems unrealistic. You should probably like settle it back, or, maybe you should pivot careers, or you should, like my full-time job essentially like just did layoffs, and I was part of it. And I was on the phone talking to my dad, and I was like, I'm trying to figure out what jobs I should be applying for right now, which now I'm like in the interview process for another like creative job. But before that I wasn't. And he was trying to talk me out of, being creative. So he's like, okay, maybe it's time to get a big girl job. And I'm like, I had one like that was creative, but people, if they don't see that vision, like they don't see it as legitimate as you. So I think it's always just like, if you have a dream, you have it for a reason. And other people, if they don't see it, it's not their dream for a reason. And so you have to pursue the things that you feel passionately about, because that means you're going to be the one making it happen, and fuck what they say.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. Where could people find, what's the Instagram, TikTok, like where could people find your work?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, let me look it up, because I don't, the whole underscore things. I don't know if I put it underscore.
The exact spelling.
Yes. Okay. So Nightmarish is the one that we're like actively making content for. So you can find that on Instagram at Nightmarish_TV. That's the horror anthology series. And then the Mare is just the Mare film with no spaces or underscores or nothing.
Awesome. Well, look, I can't wait to see what you create in the future. And thank you so much for sharing your journey.
Thanks for having me, Shota. It's so fun. Good. That's the line for the